Well, as y'all remember, in a past video I showed off lawnmower I built. I had big intentions on doing a lot of work to this over the winter, and I even told y'all that, but as you can tell, we didn't make it quite that far. About like a lot of other things in life. So yep, it's still ugly. Still cutting grass good though. Alright, now we got a couple of maintenance issues going on. Now we're about 3 mowings into the year already. Alright, if you haven't seen it, we have kind of an introduction video for this rig. Try to put a card up in the screen. While we're waiting on the oil to drain, let's change the air filter. I try to keep these changed a lot more regular because they get pretty dirty on this rig. Terrible. That's one of the main causes of burning motors up on lawnmowers, is air filters. Such a dusty, extreme environment. Keep yours changed on regular. Well worth it. Now, something to watch out for, and it's one thing I don't like about this style of air filter. I ran a big bad boy mower one time with like a 26 horse Kawasaki. Now the outside got a little dirty, but it started sucking the white filter media out of this one into the engine. This inner air filter really ain't made out of much. That's what it's supposed to look like. Now it's got that, you just squeeze it and get most of the dirt out. It's supposed to kind of make the dirt drop out into that one spot, but it don't work all the time. But the main issue I have with that air filter on this mower is you see the intake for the housings right here. Now when I got this motor off of a Jacobson, it had a hose that went right here and routed around into this hole right here and poked out the back, because that was the back of the Jacobson. Now I haven't routed that to anything, so it ends up sucking a lot of dust in. So I have to change the air filter on this mower a little bit more than I should have to. Now I intend to put a little bit of a roll bar up on this mower at some point, and I want to take that hose and route it up and put one of those hurricane dust filter, I believe it is. It'll help keep a lot of the dust from the mower deck from getting in there. I really need to do that. Now back here behind the fuel tank, we have just a regular Kubota filter head. I have changed that pretty recently because I had a jug of diesel fuel that had a little water in it and didn't know it. So that's a fairly new filter. So much for doing that. I've just started using this in the diesels lately. Now this rig should hold about 1.5 gallons, 2 gallons. I don't honestly remember. Pretty good. Now I built this mower in the summer of 2019, so it's been a good 6 years or so. And I don't know if that looks familiar to you, but that is literally a boat trailer hub and the spindle for an axle. All I did was bought a kit off of Amazon for the spindles and the trailer hub and the bearings and everything, and just welded that spindle to the top of 3/8 plate with some angle iron brackets, and that's how I made my caster wheels. Now this has worked out really good. It's been super tough. I've had no issues out of it. Nothing bending or nothing, so 3/8 plate worked really good for that. Sometimes I want to come back and drill this hole back just a little bit further for the wheel, because sometimes they get a little bit crazy, but other than that, it's held up well. Now you can tell we blowed the bearing out. A feller could say it's from lack of maintenance, but I was lazy on it to start with. About a week after I first built this 6 years ago, I went under a bush and knocked the cap off to the top of the hub. It was just like that. That one stayed on somehow. So for 6 years this hub's been out in the elements like that. Shouldn't have let it go like that, but I did. And the last time I mowed, it finally busted all the bearings out of it. Every once in a while it'd get locked up from dirt getting in it, but spray a little oil down in there and it'd keep on rolling. But we're gonna fix that today. I don't think we've damaged anything yet, but it will take some cleaning. More dirt than there was grease. Get these races knocked out of here. Little bitty old things. Clean this bore up a little bit. Not close to my welding machine, or I'd just weld a bead around the inside of that brace and then fall right out. Can't hardly get to the lip of it to hit it with anything. All I can catch it with is a screwdriver. Got it moving now. Actually do it. There we go. 10 minutes of hammering. Would have taken a minute to do it with a welding machine, but it would have taken me 20 minutes to set up the welding machine. So, well, thankfully we have no damage to the bore at all. Both sides it feels pretty good. We're just gonna take a flat wheel and clean all the rust and crap out of it. Probably just got that all over the camera, but a little bit of brake cleaner on that flat wheel keeps it cleaned out and cutting better. Die grinder is one of my favorite tools, just for reasons like this. I think we can work with that. Looks pretty good. Now before we go and hammering on this and beating it up bad, ruining our threads, we're going to go ahead and take cut-off wheel and slit both of these races. That'll help our case out a lot. Go most of the way through, but I always stop before I even touch the shaft. And that race is so hard, all you can do is take your chisel. That's all it takes right there. You don't even have to cut all the way through it. It'll just split. I've welded along the outside of them too, and it'll make it expand so much it'll fall off of there. It's another way to do it. Alright, it's loose. Clean this off. Like I said, die grinder is one of my favorite tools. I've been happy with this Milwaukee. It lacks power for some of the bigger attachments, but what gets me with die grinders is you always having to change out bits, and 2 wrenches is annoying. So I have this Ingersoll Rand air die grinder, and I love it because it's got a push button, and then you just need 1 wrench. So if you need an air one, I really like that one. A little more on the expensive side, but just having that button right there is worth a lot. That's a poor boy's lathe and milling machine right there. That's pretty decent. It's got some rust pitting here in the middle, but that's not going to affect anything because it's not where the bearing or the seal rides. That'll work. Threads look really good, and that'll last us quite a while longer. you need some caster wheels built for your finishing mower, or you got some random projects like I do, that is a heck of a tough little setup right there. It's pretty easy to put together with this trailer axle stuff. Of course, my bearing kit didn't have the seal in there. I've had it sitting around a while, so it always pays to have complete kits in the shell. Let's get this finished up about 3 days later. It's the only part that sucks is putting the dang seal and all in. Put us a little bit of this in there to keep it better longer. Maybe. If it don't leak out of the seal on the bottom. About run out of daylight. Trying to finish this up before I go in tonight. That way I can come home and go straight to mowing grass. The grass sure don't care when the mower's broke down. I do have all the fancy bearing race drivers. It's not here. They do make a pretty cool cap driver that'll drive that on there without ever denting your cap. I'll end up with one of those one day. I just ain't brought myself to buy it for $25 yet. But anyway, that feels pretty dang good again. Now if it'll last 5 years open to the elements with rain and dirt pouring in it, I wonder how long it'll last like that. Well, we just got finished servicing this rig the other day. Unfortunately, when I crawled under there to change the oil, I noticed we got even bigger problems, so let's see what that's about. So I crawled under here to check everything out and looked over here. That can't be good. Unfortunately, I've dealt with this enough times already to know that's the wheel seal on our wheel motor. See it slacking the wheel? Oh man. As many times as I've been here before, I need to build a pulley for doing this. Having a weird SD card issue there. Had to go reformat everything. 24 videos in, and that's the first issue I've had with that. I guess I can't complain too much. Now, I've actually rebuilt this motor. I think this side I did one time. The other side I ended up doing twice. Nowadays it's a little less common to have these big wheel motors on a mower until you get into the big commercial ones. Now if you come across this video and you're wondering, can these be rebuilt? It's got a bearing here and a bearing somewhere about there. Then you got a seal. Now on this motor, now this is a white motor. I think they went out of business or got bought out or something. So I bought it surplus off a surplus center for like 200 bucks. Really good deal at the time, but after 5 years, I'm tired of putting seal kits and bearings in this. In my opinion, the sealer on the outer on this one is a little bit too small of a seal. You'll see the new one in a minute, but now these are just like engines. You can rebuild the bearings out here, but your hydraulic side, you're only gonna get so much life out of it regardless. If you got dirty oil, it's not gonna last long. So there's nothing you can rebuild as far as the hydraulic side goes. You can only rebuild the two bearings and the seal, and there's a few O-rings down here on the bottom side. So if you got a motor like this that's probably 800 hours and lower, you could probably put your bearings and seals in it if you lose this wheel seal. But if it's getting up there on high in hours, go ahead and just buy a new one. First 2 times I rebuilt these, I could get parts for them still, but now it's getting really hard to find parts. So I actually had to go and outsource on McMaster to get the outer seal and the outer bearing. The only thing I could get knowingly was the inner bearing. I could rebuild this motor again probably, as long as your shaft ain't screwed up where the bearing rides. But I've been making it about a year on a rebuild. So come springtime, you may as well just rebuild the thing. Go ahead and get the year started right. So I went on Surplus Center and picked me up a new motor. This one's made by Dynamic Fluid Components. They're still in business. You can get parts for them. And I actually had to warranty the last one, and that was very painless. It was leaking out of one of the O-rings on the side. Now the life of your bearings in these, which is usually what goes bad in them, is going to be the seal. So you can see this little bitty seal that's on that one. They went up quite a bit bigger in size on the OD. Now I haven't torn one of these new ones apart to see how large that outer bearing is, but if you look on this white, there ain't much of a seal cage there. Now what's crazy is the bearing right beside it is the same exact OD and ID as the seal. So what I'm hoping is on this new one, and I guess we won't find out till we have to take it apart one day, is that this outer bearing here is a lot bigger on this other motor. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I don't really want to get in on taking that apart right now, but we may do it later. I'm sure we're going to rebuild another one at some point in time, but These ain't too bad to rebuild. I just usually come up here and cut across here with a cut-off disc to mark your rotation, because you don't want to get the rotation of these plates off. And when you unstack it, keep it in order. Now, what sucked about this one, and I'm not sure if all wheel motors are like this, I haven't torn it down enough of them, but you have a seal, then you have a small bearing for the outer bearing, then there's another seal to hold back hydraulic pressure. So you have this outer seal that keeps dirt out, but this outer bearing in this one is not lubed by hydraulic oil or anything. It's just by what grease you put in it. And the first time I rebuilt it, I didn't think about it. I just shoved a new bearing in it and went about my day. And it lasted probably a year like that, believe it or not, with no grease in it. So this outer bearing's got to be packed with grease if you rebuild it. I learned that one the hard way. But the first time I had to rebuild it, it got damaged by some string that got wrapped around the axle. Anyway, so these are 18 cubic inch motors, and mounting pattern's identical, thankfully. I just had to step up the fitting size and the motors bigger on the new one, so I had to step up to a, they call it a SAE 10, but it's a O-ring boss number 10. Make sure no dirt or paint off of these plastic caps get off in there. When I first built it, I had bought fittings, that 45s that screwed straight into the motor instead of them adapters. So I had to cut notches in that frame like that to get them to swing. Now I'm fixing to wash all this hydraulic oil off, the hub and everything, and the back of the wheel especially. That way if I have any leaks, I'll see it. Because I have had these new wheel motors leak. You'll have to send them back and they'll put an O-ring in it. It ain't that hard to put an O-ring in them, but you know, keep up with the warranty. Of course the keyway's on the bottom. Don't forget a new cotter key. But get that as tight as you can get it. Put your wheel on and run it, and come back and retorque that, because they will loosen off on some of them. Make sure your hub ain't cracking no kind of way either. I think this is the same size tire and everything as that John Deere 430. I'm kind of tempted to try to make me some dual adapters to go on it. That would be sweet for getting in some wet areas. I built this mower for steep banks. It sticks to them pretty well. Way better than any other mowers I've run. Besides, I ain't never been on a Vin track yet. This ain't nothing but an air filter. Pretty much an oil filter. Thankfully we haven't lost much at all. I caught this one early in time. The last 2 times I've caught it, it's been about a week late. So I'd come out here to run the mower and it wouldn't go nowhere because it didn't have no oil in the hydraulics. At least one side anyway. Like I said in our build video, I built them separate. And I've been running this Amsoil 2050 weight. It's made just for these 0-turn hydraulics. Now before I let it down off the jack, I like to crank it up and run that motor back and forth, get the air out of it, and make sure you got the direction right on the hoses. And of course it's backwards. That happens near about every time I do this, even if I put the same hose on the right side. Between manufacturers, they change which forward and reverse, or you can order it where the ports are swapped. But a feller could have, before he put the wheel on, done that and checked it, but I always forget about it, and then so I just come up here to the pump and swap them right here at the pump. At least on my mower, it's easy to do. Let's go ahead and fix up this pulley. Helps if you take the belt off first. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? Well, I've got a learning experience for you. Wish I would have paid attention to this to start with, but we just drilled the rivets out and I was going to drive them apart. I don't know if you can see this, but they actually went through and welded the 2 halves together. That's the first one I've had like that. Kind of disappointing. A fella might could go around that with a cut-off wheel, or I don't know, maybe a bandsaw. I kind of doubt it. So I think we're going to go ahead and just order the whole thing, bad as I hate to. Alright, well, our new pulley came in. The new one's welded around too. That's the first pulley I've ran into that so far. I'm sure a bunch are like that. It even came with a new spacer, so that's nice. Went by Sam's Club the other day and they had these totes. I seen it online a while back where you can take these and build a 2x4 shelf to put a bunch of them in. I've been super interested in doing that, so I bought my first few containers to go in it. When we finish the storage shed, we're going to build a wall for them, but this one's going to be lawnmower parts, so be perfect for it. So we got us a fresh pulley, a drive belt. I know I have the other 2 belts. They're stored somewhere. Fuel pump, spindle bearings. I'd like to end up with an extra set of pulleys, belts, all the filters, simple electric stuff. Be just for the lawnmowers right here in this box. That'll be super handy. Alright, now if we fold the seat forward, the raggedy seat forward, you'll see I've got a hydraulic cooler for each side on the wheel motors. They're on a little frame I made, and they bolt to the hydraulic tank stands. So all you do is take the nuts off of these studs right here, and you can take this and move it up out of your way. I usually do it like that. Then you can come in here whenever it gets full of dirt and crap like that. Come in here and wash it. It's gotten pretty dirty here lately, so let's get that cleaned out. That'll be a good start to the summer there. Probably have to clean it out one more time, but that'll do it. Well, we cut a pretty good patch of grass in, let's see, 20 minutes. But we lose at least 15 foot of elevation in that 200 foot. And it's very rough, so I could speed it up a lot. We're gonna have to smooth this whole yard out at some point. We'll be getting to that. Probably gonna have to build the equipment to do it as well, so. If y'all got any advice on re-leveling large areas, let me know. Can't afford a Harley rake, so we're gonna have to do it the poor way. Now that was a lot thicker than I normally let it get. We was down for a week and 4 days over what I usually mow, so we got a lot more grass clippings laid on the ground. Need me one of them lawn vacuums. Might go back over it tomorrow once it dries up good. It does pretty good on its lines. It's hard to keep them super straight because of how rough it is, but we've got to continue working on this pretty soon. I've been using it for 5 years, and every time I get on it, I wish I had spent more time working on it, finishing it up. All right, it's the next day, and it's supposed to rain. So we got to get this cut. Still got a little bit of dew on it, but not too bad. This whole property right here is going straight downhill. So just like the front, we're continuing on about the same 15 and 200 grade. So over about this 800, it's probably 1,000 foot to the very bottom down there. We lose a good 45 foot, 48, somewhere in there. So it's really hard to tell on camera, but everything we do here on the property, on this side anyway, on this 2 acres, it's all straight downhill. So when you look at this and you watching the mower, looks like we're kind of mowing something flat. There's nothing flat about this. Them hydrostats are getting a workout. Now it's so rough out here, it's gonna be hard to keep a good straight line, and there's a couple of little hilly spots, so it always makes the line look crooked, so we don't worry about it that much. Now we do have this strip right here in the middle we mowed with the John Deere. That's been 5 days ago probably. And it's every bit of 4 inches tall, probably 4.5. Now this grass over here, we're a week and a half late on mowing, so it's anywhere between 7 and 9 inches depending on how thick the grass is in some spots. Well, that took about 32 minutes, so that's pretty nice cutting actually. We're still in the good starting part of the season, so once we start getting in Bahia season, it'll take a lot longer to cut. I want to eventually get rid of all the Bahia though. That helps out mowing a lot. Well, that's this week's mowing done. I gotta go clean all the grass off and wash the radiator off a little bit, and should be good to go. No leaks on our wheel motors, so should be good for a while on that. Keep you updated on how those last. If they don't, we're gonna have to redesign some stuff. I ain't honestly sure if there's a break-in period on them wheel motors, but one thing's for sure, we broke it in today. It's a pretty good grade to pull all morning, so we should be able to make it through the year with maybe a pulley bearing replacement and putting blades on it, and we should be good. Depending on how much dumb stuff I mow down is how often we'll change the belt, but I about got everything tuned in pretty good, so we don't have to worry about no weird stuff. Well, that spindle worked so good, made me realize that this one could use a repacking. Seeing how much it wiggled around. If you haven't seen the first video on this, I suggest checking it out. It's been a fun project. But anyway, I gotta get to the dreaded job of weed eating. Hope y'all enjoyed my little bit of grass mowing. Thanks for watching.